game because there's not a lot of content game to be discussed.
It always seems to happen. We have that week where it's like, here's the set release or the set like piece by piece review, and then the next week it's like, and
yeah, quite understandably. I mean, there's not a lot of new previews. Usually, there's not a lot of new news, especially not now. So it's quiet. I'm glad that we're having a chance to at least check out the Fast Forces. I hadn't taken a close look at it, honestly, because they were sold out of it. So.
Yeah. Well, I had one on order, and then somebody else wanted to come in and buy it. So I'm about to find out now if I'm going to regret that decision.
Oh, there you go. I won't spoil it for you.
All right.
But I know my answer.
And that's right. We are live on the Metal Lab. I am joined this week by not just Tom, but also Mike.
Hello. Because I'm on hiatus.
That's awesome.
You put the yay in hiatus.
I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
Just in time to hit Avengers. I know you were very excited. Are you enjoying your Avengers now that you have it in hand?
I haven't, I only got to play for a little bit when it first dropped a couple of weeks ago, and then I was really busy with work. I was actually out of town for a couple of days. And I have not actually touched it since I began my hiatus. That probably, I just had to get all the other things done first so I could have a couple of days where I can chillax with it. So hopefully Wednesday will be a pants off game on day.
Yeah. I had a huge week.
I actually missed an obvious.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
I was just saying.
No, you go ahead. Here we go, guys. We're really zipping tonight.
Yeah.
I was actually all I was going to say was that
I'm going to get a drink, so I'll be right back. Go ahead.
I went with the Mike puts the yay in hiatus when I really missed the obvious joke, which was you put the hi in hiatus. So.
That was multi.
There were lots of levels there. That was all I wonder if Jason was expecting that to be more than a one-liner.
I'm not sure, but he bailed. He's out. He's like, you know.
I had to come back to scold you for that joke, and now I'm leaving again.
Oh, okay.
That was the entire you can't go. Look, he's got such a little glass too. You should.
I know it's
build him
dainty
for his glass.
He's a tiny glass.
It'd be funny if it was water. This is how I drink water now.
So one thing I didn't mention to the guys that are here is there is something I was asked a favor of. I wasn't actually asked a favor. I'm going to do a favor. Obviously, you all know Jay hasn't been on the show for a while. Jay's life got very busy, and then he got it organized. But Jay has set off on his own to run into the Heroclix podcast world. And I want to do him the favor of giving him the signal boost. So this is Jay's podcast, the JSA JSA Clix podcast. I don't know if you know, but Jay is a fan of the JSA. For long-time viewers, you get that.
I assume Jay Solomon is part of that pun. Like, I assume it's both a bit of a gag, but I don't know for sure.
I've been trying to avoid that part, but I assume it's a part of it. He's got actually 2 episodes up where he works with it's himself, Adam Friedman, Chad Birdsall, and Devin Owens, reviewing the Spider-Man set. So find out exactly how bad it is, or how they think the set is going to go. Like I said, they've kind of split it up through rarities, which is great. You don't get to hear us ramble for 2.5 hours like we usually do. So check that out. It's at jsaclix.podbean.com. It's also on other podcast platforms, but I felt this was the one that was easiest to show you because I'm showing people on the screen right now. Tom and Mike are just seeing me as expected. So
yeah, check it out. I've enjoyed the episode so far, and I like the fact that they split it out by rarity in that way. It makes for a little bit more bite-sized listening. I mean, it's still a pretty big bite because there's a lot to say, but it's good little listening for your walks and stuff. And then I'm happy that you had a chance to get the team together and chat it over. So.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. It's a great analytical group of guys handling it. And I haven't had a chance to listen to myself, but I know Admin, I know Jay, and I know Devin at least. Chad. I hope you like these guys.
So maybe that's what it stands for. J. Solomon analyzes clicks.
Maybe. There it is. There we go.
Whoa.
Wow.
Or J. Solomon and Associates clicks.
Hmm.
I just thought he was a fan of the JSA and wanted to go that way.
I think it's got to be
probably
more
it.
than just. I feel like it's that plus though.
I can't wait for him to start getting the better ad reads than we get. Jay interrupts this set review for Manscaped.
Right. MeUndies.com.
Blue Apron. Hey, you know what? All this talk is making me hungry. You know what's a good way to eat? But good luck to Jay, Adam, and Devin, and Chad. Welcome to the world of content. It's better to have more content creators out there. That just means more people get more chances to hear different ways, and probably the way that they prefer to listen. So all our support goes out to Jay, and I loved all the work that he did with us on this channel. He will be missed, but man, he's got a plan, and let him go. So that said, my week in gaming in general was mostly Magic the Gathering and video games. So unfortunately, Dolly's was unable to run any events this weekend because of the Magic pre-release that happened this weekend. They didn't want to. We're kind of getting back down in restrictions in the area because numbers are peaking up, unfortunately. So we're getting back to groups of 10 at best here. So keep safe out there, folks. In the meantime, so we didn't run Clix yourself. Mike, what you been up to this week?
Some trading and stuff, because the new set and trying to fill in those holes. The last time I got to play was at the sealed event at Dolly's, which I'm sure you guys talked about last week.
Not really.
No, not really.
We jump into it. So why don't you say your...
Oh God, I barely remember. Oh, I know what my team was.
So it wasn't that good.
I had good stuff in general because I both bought 2 boosters in for the event, and I bought a case from Dolly's because I was excited to go to Dolly's finally and to spend some money there and say thank you for being open and having an event. So I was very happy to give them money, and I was even happier when I opened that case and got a 2 chase case, for the first time in forevers. So that was pretty exciting. So thank you, especially for Spider-Man, because I love Spider-Man. So that was a very welcome thing. My 2 chases were Miles West, which is I'm really kind of getting into saying more and more now. And
it hurts less now.
Yeah, Leonardo da Venom. I don't know which one is supposed to be, or Venom da Vinci, or whatever he's supposed to be.
Leonardo da Venom. Mine just came.
It is Leonardo da Venom. Looks like it. Because I was going to say that should be his name if it isn't, because that's the best way to say it is Leonardo da Venom. So, and conveniently enough, I got a bunch of super rares in it that I needed still, so it was already a good case. And then I opened my 2 boosters for the event, and I got the super rare Spider-Man with the garbage can. So that's a pretty sick figure to pull and sealed, as we know. He's a sick figure just in general to use. 12 attack and hit everybody. And then the other booster, I pulled the second Miles West. So, holy cow, hotness at Dolly's. My new home for buying clicks, clearly, because that was some super awesomeness. Sadly, I couldn't do the whole garbage can thing, even though I pulled a Peter Parker, because ultimately I wanted to build a Spider-Man family theme team, and I would have been super underbuilt, or I would have had to break theme. So I had to main force the Peter Parker that I had. I couldn't put him on the sideline.
No police?
Whatever. C'est dommage.
Yeah.
As we would say up here in the Great White North, because, I really wasn't upset about that. Had a really good +6, I think it was, Spider-Man family team, and it was Miles West, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Marvella, Agent Venom, and oh my god, I just forgot who the other person was. Oh, Black Widow. So yeah, was a good team. Don't even ask me to remember who all the things were that I faced because I went away and I stayed in a hotel for a couple of days and barely slept. And who are you people? Where are we? Heroclix? What's that game?
It's all right. You played against Tom's bad team in the third
Right.
round.
I played against two other teams, and my team was really good and did all the stuff I wanted to do. Then I played against this Svengali in the final round who likes to do this thing where he goes, "Oh, don't look at my team. I don't know how I'm in the final game undefeated. My team is crap. It doesn't do anything. Don't plan your turn. It doesn't do anything." Like, he literally was saying that to me. What am I don't know. You're overthinking it, Mike. My team does nothing. My team does nothing. Yeah,
My team does nothing except outwit all your powers and murder you.
Exactly. Double outwit. I swear to God, once again, my old man eyes, when I first looked over there, I was thinking in my head that Molten Man had shape change for some reason, so I didn't really clock in that there was two outwits. That's pretty sick. As everybody knows, double outwitting in a sealed is pretty massively effective, which is why Tom's crappy team went undefeated.
Tom's lucky nobody pulled a null.
But also, too,
Null's borderline unbeatable.
it was also really effectively well played. Tom knows how to play the game. We know that. Tom's a great player. And he used all the stuff great. Molten Man's barrier to do poison is huge and sealed because there's not a lot of damage reducers in this set comparatively, right? It's a superset set when we play in a Spider-Man. So, once again, there's something to be said for understanding the game, knowing what's going on in the sets, and putting the right things on your team. Tom did all that stuff. So he turned what he professed to be a hot mess into a beautiful, glorious victory. But it was so much fun to play. First time I've played Clix in person since I think February, maybe early March, the latest it would have been. So that was awesome. Tom was there, Emily was there, Jason was there running the event. Mike Payne came out. Whoa, he ruined the Highlander rule for Mike's because there can be only one. But it was great. It was awesome. It was a great day at Clix, and I'm glad I did it. It's the only Clix I've had in a while. I have done some games. I got this game that's more superhero stuff, so I played that with the kid. But yeah, it's just been work and hoping that we can get it together here in Ontario and have some more in-person events.
Absolutely. Hey, Tom, do you want to talk about your week, or do you want to go straight to the review, then talk about your week? Up to you, man.
I'm happy to talk about it now. I'm not going to go into beat by beat results here. That's not what we do very often on the show, and I'm happy to keep the train moving. I did play a couple or three practice games and then a tournament this week. I played in the online ROC win a map qualifier, and this actually maybe is a good time to just say briefly what's going on with Worlds, because we were talking about what Rock Worlds was before the podcast or the show began, and I mentioned the fact that it was probably worth clarifying a few things about it, just in case there was any confusion, because there's a couple points that I think maybe flying over some people's radar and important things to mention. So if you don't mind me sidelining for a moment.
Oh, you have the full screen right now, so it's all yours, sir.
Oh, thank you. First of all, I'm not an expert myself. I'm very bad at staying connected to the latest news, so by all means, please go to the Rock Discord, look for announcements there for your most updated information, Rock Facebook, the actual Rock Ion Suite website, etc. So check in all the usual sources for the most up-to-date information, but there's a few things about Worlds that I think are worth noting. One is when it happens, which is October 10th, 11th, Saturday, Sunday. For all of we Canadians, that would be the Thanksgiving weekend. For everyone who's not Canadian, also not Thanksgiving. And the thing that is, there's about three things I wanted to mention about Worlds because I think that they maybe are not fully understood or widely recognized. Number one is that you do have to qualify for Worlds, the event. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to pre-qualify. The way Saturday is running, there's going to be a qualifying tournament in the morning where some amount of the cut will get into the actual Worlds event. So I don't know whether it's going to be top half, top third, top 16, top 32. I don't actually know if they've said, and if they have, I don't have the up-to-date information. But the point is, you can do nothing between now and October 10th and still participate. But what it's going to mean is that basically you have to play through the first bit in order to make the cut to get into the second tournament, which is the start of Worlds proper. And if you make that cut, then you can play on Sunday, which is the final day. That's part number one thing that may not be entirely clear. And it segues with the fact that they're doing these qualifying events up until now. So last Friday night was the first one. They've got another one coming up this Saturday, and then the following Tuesday, and then the Saturday or Sunday after that. Again, check the Rock website for more details. But what's cool about this is that they are standard win-a-map tournaments. So they're the usual win-a-map thing. You've got, if you win it, you win a map. If you place highly, there may be other prizing depending upon how many people are involved in the tournament. But the number one spot gets to go straight into the later tournament on the Saturday, which is sort of the World Championship proper. So that is, in addition to the other prizing, what people are playing for. And by all means, it's a great opportunity to see what's out there right now in the post-Spider-Man release run-up to the World Championship. So I think it's a great opportunity, and by all means, like this is as close to a World Championship season as we're going to get in COVID land, and I think it's a big deal. There's no WizKids Worlds, but the Rock Worlds is a huge event, has been for several years, and I think that this is a great time for the community to support that event by, if you can be a part of it, then by all means do. And if you can play in a qualifier, please do. I was really excited to have a chance to play in one, just to see what was out there, to test out some new figures. I had a real blast, so I totally endorse it. And I guess the last thing I would mention is what's legal, which is not Galactus. A fairly important point. The release of Galactus got pushed back, so even though we know what Galactus does, it's not going to be legal in Rock Worlds. Furthermore, obviously the X-Men set's not out yet, but the Spider-Man set is out and it is fully legal, as well as like the Ampetunia map and whatnot. The ones that weren't legal for Nationals are now fully legal for this. So it's everything up to and including Spider-Man will be legal for Worlds, and ownership is not required. You don't have to send in a picture of your team. You just need to say what your team is. That's a huge deal, obviously, and if anyone has missed that detail, that's a very big one, especially with a new slew of chases that are completely changing the nature of the game. You don't have to own your stuff. You just have to say what's there and submit your builds. And that's how all the qualifiers are as well in the roll up to it. So I love that. I think it really opens up the game to some extent to be able to choose whatever you want. I also love the fact that you don't have to go and get the figures and get a picture of them with you standing next to them and all that logistical crap. I mean, I know that that's first world problems at its finest, but nevertheless,
don't get me started on some of the poses I considered for those pictures.
Well, yeah, and I didn't feel good for you because you took pictures for our whole team for teams, and every time there was something missing or whatever, you had to go back and take another picture and yada yada yada. So,
hey man, thanks for checking those for me.
No problem. So anyway, that's my little disclaimer on what Worlds is about. And I will say, as I said, I played in the tournament on Friday. There were 12 people in this tournament, so they ran it as a 4-round Swiss. So no elimination. Everybody had a chance to play as many rounds as they wanted to see how their team was doing, to test out against some other teams. I was playing a variant of the New Fantastic Four. This one was not a Fantastic Four theme. It was a Spider-Man family theme. Because several of the Fantastic Four members have celebrity. So I took the rare Thing at 75, the rare Human Torch at 60, and the common Invisible Woman at 40. They're all celebrities. I threw on a Marvella to make them all Spider-Man family, and then a second Marvella, because 2 Marvellas is boss. I put on Silk, because Silk has both Fantastic Four and Spider-Man family already, so she can stay on the team and be one of your theme proppers and be a generally useful piece, or she can be part of the swap out, and I can swap up to 4 characters for sidelines to form the new Fantastic Four, and rounded it with Spider-Man 1776, because he is the hotness, and he's incredibly good. Absolutely worth it, and I think we talked about how broken it is to play two 1776s, but frankly, it's broken to play one. He's a really good figure for 50 points to begin with. Couple that with the fact that he's taking away an action from your opponent, and then there's the fact that if he gets close enough, he keep in mind he has a 6-foot range bubble around himself. So there's basically this 13 range diameter bubble moving around the field, and if your leadership characters happen to be in there, they can't use leadership and your -1 action token. So, or -1 action. So if you would normally be at 4 actions, you're at 2. Because Spider-Man 1776 is nearby, and you can still protect him and have him nearish by. So it's pretty busted. So that was the team, and there was a bunch of sideline that I was able to swap into. I played 4 rounds. The first one was against Nate White, who was playing for the Fantastic Four team with the actual Fantastic Four. His particular variant built on at least this version of it, because I know he had different configurations. This configuration was a very defense-pushing one, with the SR thing giving everybody a 19 defend, the the Agent Venom giving everybody shape change, and the Invisible Woman giving everybody stealth. So they're kind of all handing out adjacent characters, added protection, so that you've got a really well-formed protective group. With Franklin Richards there, who has the world's deepest dial and gives everybody power cosmic, so you're not outwitting them, amongst other things, and Valeria Richards with a spin ring, because that's what you do. I was able to squeak out a win in that one, largely because I won map. It was hugely instrumental because I was playing the Iceberg Lounge. I had a chance to disrupt his spin ring a little bit, get a seal up there, grab the spin ring, and although I couldn't keep it, he did KO the seal and take the spin ring back. It forced him to split his team a bit in the early goings, as opposed to the one protective core that it was built around. And in so doing, that gave me an opportunity as I moved up to get Wolverine, who I was playing in this particular version, up there to take an attack of opportunity that took out Valeria Richards and did some damage to Sue. He ultimately got Wolverine off the map, but doesn't score him. It just gets him out of the way. And then he had to come to me, because I was pulling back by that point. Then he had to come to me, force the attack. We really started gutting it out. He eventually got Franklin Von Doom down to his Galactus clicks, but wasn't able to quite finish him off. And I scored the win on points and on time. Like, had it gone a little further, I think he had a more aggressive team, probably more powerful figures, so I think he could have pulled it off. But it was just, I got an early lead and he couldn't quite make up for it. Round 2 was against Calder Ness, fellow podcast legend. He's been on this show before, and of course, anyone who knows Heroclix podcasting will know him from Dial H from Heroclix. He was playing a soldier theme with triple Super Skrulls. Looking at you here, Mike. Actually, sorry. When I say a soldier theme, I of course mean a Spider-Man family team, because there was a Spider-Man 1776 along with those 3 Super Skrulls, as well as a Prime Isaiah Bradley, and a Skrull General, because you gotta have Skrull General. And in that was another one where, again, I squeaked out the win, but probably wouldn't have given another 5 minutes of game time. I was able to tool up my team to go Pulse Wave heavy, because I knew the Super Skrulls basically don't have any other major weaknesses, because they can choose whatever defensive powers they want. So between Franklin Richards being a pick a power and Human Torch having on-dial Pulse Wave, and clustering them up and barriering them up with Marvella to kind of move up together, we both kind of moved our teams up until we had the opportunity to start fighting. Then I would destroy a barrier, Pulse Wave a Super Skrull to death. He came out and knocked Franklin Richards to his very last click, but not quite dead. Franklin Richards ran back over to Alicia Grimm for some support, while Human Torch came over and Pulse Waved a Super Skrull to death. Then he went and KO'd Human Torch. By the time that was done, Franklin Richards had been healed up enough that he could go out and take out another Super Skrull, and it was just this pendulum. And at the point at which they called time, the pendulum was swinging in my direction. I won by something like 15 points, which he could have easily taken within another turn or two. So, super close game, really anyone's game. Third round was a ruler theme. Oh no, wait, it was actually a Spider-Man family theme. Sorry, I always get that wrong.
I love this game.
This one against Stephen Spooner, who was rocking 2 Spider-Man 1776s, along with a Spider Pharaoh, 2 Proteuses at 10 points, 2 Gorilla Grods at 10 points, and a Mary Jane Watson and a Magneto. Oh, and a Black Leopard. So there's a +10 theme team. He pulled off a trick with Mary Jane that enabled the paparazzi to destroy my spin ring on turn 1 before I even had a chance to do anything with it because it was on map. I hate this game now. But he did have to move up a bit to do it with some members of his team, and as he formulated the rest of the team around, again, even down to 2 actions per turn, I was also able to move up enough to get Wolverine TK'd by Franklin and then sidestep and then charge to take out his Magneto. So I had the lead, forced him to come to me, and then he was near my 1776s, was lowering down his actions, his were lowering down mine. The whole thing was a bit slow, and then I got luckier than anyone has ever gotten in Heroclix history before, because I had an opportunity to attack with Silk, who was on the board at that point, against his Spider Pharaoh. And I was like, yeah, okay. I can position people so that Black Leopard's line of fire is blocked. I can perplex up Silk's attack or damage by 1, and then go to a double empower from the Marvellas. But I'm still 10 to an 18, and he's got super senses. But I got the hit. He propped it. I got the hit. He missed his senses. I one-shot Spider Pharaoh. We fought a little bit more. Forward came Black Leopard. I attacked Black Leopard on the diagonal so that I was blocking off his line of fire for the capping of values.
Yeah.
But even with the capping of values, it was 10 on a 19, so I needed a 9. Rolled a 10. He had no problem, and I one-shotted his Black Leopard, and then they called time, and I immediately went out and bought a lottery ticket. Because what else would you do?
Tom is buying us all houses now.
Absolutely. That was ridiculous. So I won round 3 without deserving it, and with ridiculous dice luck, which then immediately turned around in round 4 when I was against Emily, playing her Vulture Jason shenanigans. This being a non-themed team against my +7, I was reasonably confident of winning map, and sure didn't. Rolled a 3 to her 11. So she won map with her Vulture team, which was very annoying. I just scattered my team. made it as difficult as possible for her to KO any more than one thing within the course of a given Giant Reach Flurry. And so she did kill off a lot of little stuff, but then got stymied when she got too close to Black Leopard and couldn't get a line to anyone else without the capping of values. She did KO my Valeria and a few other things, but in the end, he didn't get Vulture didn't get finished off. She then created a Jason chain, a Jason Wingard chain, that mind controlled my whole team. She never missed a mind control, but she couldn't hit a hit to save her life. So Dice saved me on turn 2, and then her Jason was committed and her Vulture was committed. So Wolverine was halfway up the map. He charged at Jason. She missed her shape change, and he one-shotted on a Lucky Blades roll. And because he hit, he gives Flurry to Fantastic Four members. So thanks, Jason, for telling me that, because I didn't even know that. And so Ghost Rider charged Flurry at Vulture with enough probs and perplexes to finish him off. And so I took out Jason and Vulture in the same turn. And at that point, it was just she fed things. They did damage. I KO'd them. She fed things. That happened with a Tri-Sentinel. It happened with Valeria. It happened with Chewie the cat. And then finally she was out of attackers. So I won. So I won the tournament, and it was great. I was very happy to. I'm happy to have qualified for Worlds. I have no idea. The team is fun, but the team really struggles against virtually everything. Like you need to make smart choices with your swapping at the beginning, and then you need to make smart choices in the game. And like I said, several of the rounds I either got really lucky when I needed to, or I won on time, and a little more time would have lost me the game. So not really sure if this team is quite the success that I would like, even though it did win the tournament. So back to the drawing board, but I'm excited to go from here.
Mike, you had a face, and we haven't gotten your opinion because last week we had our conversation about the chases in Spider-Man. Where are you standing on this new world of everything is Spider-Man family?
Well, I sort of made a comment about it in the WhatsApp that it's such a mixed blessing, because in one way I felt like, wow, okay, WizKids, cool, you want me to get to enjoy theme and named theme and look at ways of making named theme and getting theme with some probs on a lot of stuff there, which is cool and all, but
at what cost?
Right? Yeah, it's like when someone says, oh, you know what? I really love banana cream pie. And I have a hard time finding a good banana cream pie. There's not a lot of places that sell banana cream pie here in Toronto. It took me a while to find a place. There's a great place in Kensington Market. Who knows how long that'll last anymore because everything's getting turned into condos. But, I digress. But anyway, I love banana cream pie. And if someone brought me banana cream pie, that would be super awesome. And I would be really excited. This is like WizKids flew a plane over my house and dropped 17,000 banana cream pies on my house. And I have to eat them all now. Like, I will never get another banana cream pie again. Ever again. You have to have them now. These are all the banana cream pies you're ever going to have for the rest of your life, all at once, 17,000 dropped on your house. That's kind of how I feel about the Chases and what they've done.
Hey, man.
It's as good an analogy as we're going to get.
Yeah. I just refer to all the teams I am building as or I refer to myself when I'm building teams with these things as a trashmonger now.
Right. But the funny part is that's the game. You feel dirty, but then you recognize that that's everyone. And sometimes you don't put two 1776s on your team, and that's practically charity at this point. So
yeah. All right, that's it. We're still talking about Spider-Man a little bit this week. And this week we set aside a little time for the absolute carnage Fast Forces. So let's get that pulled up here. All right, so we're going to look at the first figure here, and it's Spider-Man. He's playable at 75 or 50. The 50-point line is cut off at the two running, so it starts at those two running shot clicks for those of you who are watching from there. So for 75 points, 5 range, 2 targets, Spider-Man family team ability, reporter, scientist, and Spider-Man family keywords. Marvel team up trait. When establishing theme teams, choose a keyword a character on your force has. Spider-Man gains that keyword. Spider-Man, do you know what the rest of you guys are doing? Special damage power, quips and thwips. Leadership, but succeeds on a 4 to 6, and then he ignores elevated for movement. And like I said, he starts with some charge at 75, starts with some running shot at 50. Mike, I'm going to let you go first on the Spider-Man. What do you think, Spider-Man?
Well, more theming shenanigans here, because pretty much that means, i.e.,
more pie.
You can, pretty much. You could just put them on every team now. It's like if you didn't already like Prez Rickard, and you're like, you know what? I've got an extra 15 points I'd like to add to that, and have a little more stuff. Well, here's Spider-Man. Because honestly, I don't know why you would ever play the 75-point version. Sure, a 12 attack looks great, but come on. 50 points for running shot, in-cap, double target, 18 defense super senses, and a leadership on a 4 to 6 on whatever theme team that you happen to play that just happens to not have leadership for 50 points. Plus, he's a wild card, right? So if you've somehow got team abilities on this wild keyworded team that he just magically comes on, he also can copy those team abilities. So, wow, so much shenanigans in this set. I think it's really good 50-point Spider-Man. And yes, I'm pretending the 75 points doesn't exist.
Tom?
Yeah, I think Mike's impulse is right. No such thing as 75 points unless you're playing pure casual. Even at 50, I don't love it. I mean, the fact that it fits on every single team means that it can't possibly be bad. But I do miss willpower. It's almost the only thing that might make the difference. I think the Prez Rickard comparison is actually pretty good. This guy's more of an attacker than Prez. He doesn't have quite the same fancy willpower, but he not only goes on any team, but he actually gets the keyword to help add to your bonus with it and take your theme probs. So, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I think that Mike put it well. There's a lot of benefit here.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid Fast Force figure, to be honest. All right. Next up, we have Venom. Also at 75 or 50 points. You lose the first 2 clicks if you play him at 50. He has Codex, Monster, Reporter, Sinister Syndicate keywords, ignores Elevated for movement, has Plasticity and Shape Change from the Symbiote trait, and has a giant reach of 2 from his tendrils trait. Tom, what do you think of Venom?
Well, to start with, I like the simplicity of it. We've talked before about the fact that fast forces are often seemingly designed for either new players or at least as a way to sort of welcome you into the game. And this is a very, very straightforward piece for a piece that has an improved movement and 2 traits. Very basic. Unfortunately, I'm not terribly impressed. I also think that this is another one where the 50 points probably more valuable than the 75. An extra couple clicks with a slightly higher values are fine, but 25 points is a lot of money or point money in this day and age. I just don't know what there is to be excited about. I mean, it's a good example of I kind of like everything I see. Charge, Blades, Exploit with Giant Reach is a great combination, and I love plasticity to lock people down, and shape changing vulnerability is cool, but I guess I just want more. I think I'm spoiled by how good some things are, so there's nothing wrong with this, but there's also nothing too right about it.
Mike?
Yeah, I think Tom really sums it up well in saying the whole, like, it's not a bad figure, and especially again at the 50 points when you really think about it, like the values aren't crazy, but it's plasticity, shape change, giant reach 2 with exploit, weakness, charge, and blades for 50 points that's a lot of stuff going on, but it's just we've been spoiled. There's no wow factor going on here other than that. There's a hell of a lot of stuff in the main set at 60 points that does so much more for only 10 points more. So, cool stuff. I think for a fast forces, if you're trying to get people into the game, it's another good figure that way, where it's like, hey, this plays like I would think Venom would if I was a comic book reader, and there's nothing super complicated about it.
To kind of add to that, it really highlights how different clicks will have different values, especially when you look at click 2 and 4, where you go to the Steel Energy clicks and he's got 4 damage, but the other 2 have 2. It's kind of telling you to roll the blades, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's more of a that's interesting than an actual thing. But yeah, it's an okay 50 points, but okay doesn't bring it up to the big leagues, as it were. All right. Next up, we have Black Cat. Now she kind of drops on the point value. She's playable at 50 for the full 6-click dial, or 25 gets you a 3-click dial, the last 3 clicks. She has 3 range, defenders, team ability, 50, like I said, 50 or 25 points. A defenders, martial artist, Marvel Knights, and Spider-Man family keyword, ignores elevated and hindering for movement, has stealth as a trait, and then always bet on black is her second trait. Once per attack, when Black Cat attacks or is attacked, roll a d6, and you may replace a die in that attack roll with the result. So it's neat. It's a neat effect. For 50 points, you get a lot of dial, but not a lot of defense on the dial per se. Like she got combat reflexes, but the game starts at range, right? For 25 points, you do get the mobility of her, but I kind of wish she started with the perplex. To be brutally honest, it's just in either dial. Well, she does at the 50. I'd prefer the 25 started with the perplex, which would make me a little bit more plus on her. She's not great. She doesn't have a defense I want to give, and there's not a lot of defenders with defenses that she wants to get. So, all in all, the always bet on black is one of those quirky powers that's great, but only affects her attacking or being attacked. And I think that's why I'm not as excited about this character as I guess it might deserve. I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
Well, if you want to take another jaunt into Tom's probability corner, like we did with Black Cat last week, I was thinking about this during my morning walk. That effect, the whole always bet on black thing, where you can roll a d6 and choose to replace a die when you're either attacking or being attacked. Trying to quantify, like, how does that stack up against the things that we've seen in the game already? Because it's kind of a unique effect. We've seen other replacements, but this is still a bit distinct. And so here's the way I would articulate it. Because it's optional, like you can always roll the die, and then if you roll badly on that die, just choose to ignore it. Then there's nothing that there is no material difference between saying you roll 2d6 and then you roll a third, and just saying you roll 3d6 and choose 2. I mean, that's really what it is, right? Fundamentally, they're the same thing. Because, again, you're choosing 2 of the 3 dice rolled to be the 2 that end up in the final result. So the order doesn't matter. So if we call the dice A, B, and C, and we say A and B are the dice that you roll in the first place, and C is the dice that you roll afterwards, there are 3 different ways to combine pairs amongst A, B, and C. You can go A and B, you can go A and C, or you can go B and C. So normally, when you roll dice, you don't get any choice at all. In this case, you get a choice of 1 of 3, and the odds of the one that you didn't choose, the odds of one of the ones you don't choose being better than the first one, like the odds of AC or BC being better than AB, are basically 2 out of 3, because any one of these could be the quote-unquote best. Best may represent for you the highest, the lowest, whatever it is that you're looking for in your particular outcome, because obviously there's attacks and defenses to be considered. So what that means is that there's...
Okay, he's still good.
I don't know.
It looked like he was falling asleep there.
Nope, I'm still here.
All right, cool.
Back him back. So what I'm getting at here is that basically this effect will allow you to improve upon the initial outcome about 2 out of 3 times. It's actually slightly less than that, only because there's a possibility that all 3 dice could end up being exactly the same. So when you actually calculate the probabilities, you have to account for that, and it comes out slightly below the actual 66.6 repeating figure, but it's quite close. The point being that there's roughly a 2/3 chance of this being a beneficial power. Which is good, really. Like if I basically told you that you can use prob 2/3 of the time, and the prob was guaranteed to be beneficial, you would think that was good. And so it also kind of skews your outcomes. As I think we all know, when you roll 2d6, the outcome tends towards 7. Like the average outcome of any rolling of 2d6 is 7, right at the middle, and there's equal likelihood it'll be above or below. The actual odds of rolling a 7 or higher are slightly more than 50-50 because there's different combinations to create the 7. But the actual midpoint, that mean, is 7. I did some calculation on this. This moves the mean to about 8.5 at the high if you're looking for high numbers, or about 5.5 if you're looking for low numbers. So in a way, this effect is kind of like saying you've got a 1.5 higher attack or a 1.5 higher defense, and you can use it every time she gets attacked. And also, replacements are resolved after dice finish rolling, and so you can kind of lock down the prob and then do this thing, I believe, unless I'm mistaken on that. But that is the way it was ruled with Q, so I assume it works the same way. All of this means, to me, this is better than you have prob when you attack or are attacked. So it is better than that. Mm-hmm. But Jason's point is well made. It's not as good as just having prob, because it only applies to you. So it's not at 25 points. It's a good little way of staying alive. If you can wildcard defenders to an 18 or a 19, it can give her some more survivability. I love the fact that she's a stealth shield. I think she has utility at 25 points. I don't think I'd play her at 50 because I don't get enough dial, but I do think that always bet on black power is good, and in a way it's almost like better prob, but more specific usage. I don't know if that little tangent was useful, but I find the math interesting.
You see, I'm gonna just kind of come back to everything. It falls into the same math as or similar math, not the same, but in the same vein of the Riddler. Remember the Riddler, who was like, the odds are not hits anymore, the evens are not hits anymore, which really drastically skewed things. But the character himself, I don't think added enough value to any team. I think that's kind of where I sat with the Black Cat here. It's like the value just not really there especially when we have characters at the 25-point line in that area that are autonomous now, right?
Yeah, totally. Or less.
Yeah, that's ultimately, I think, the issue with it. Like, yes, the power is beneficial and would help, but ultimately it helps when Black Cat attacks or someone is attacking Black Cat. Well, Black Cat's not your attacker. She's not. So nobody cares about that part. And if she's getting attacked, okay, great. She's going to survive longer. But I feel like if she's getting attacked, I'm something like she's one of the last people left, and that you're cleaning out the rest of my team or something. You know what I'm getting at? Like
the frustrating end to a game.
Yeah, the real problem with her is you want to play her at 50 points in terms of looking at what you get top dial there, because she's clearly a support type piece, and a perplex would be nice, but you can't play her 50 points because that's too overcosted for what she's bringing. So you want to play her at 25 points, but at 25 points you're kind of going, what is her purpose on the team other than point filling to make theme? Which we don't need to really do anymore in the age of everything is Spider-Man family anyway. So it's kind of like she should have come out a set before, and we might have found a lot more benefit from her than in the current age of, well, there's other stuff I would better spend my points on. I agree that she could be totally a stealth shield, play her at the 25 points, and she's got super senses, and she's going to have that power if someone tries to take her out to get rid of her. But again, it's just like
value proposition is rough.
Yeah, like sometimes if you're looking at a figure and you're putting on a team purely to let it get killed before another figure, that's probably a problem for 25 points. Mm-hmm. That's something I want to spend 5 or 10 points on maximum, right? If I've already spent 25 points on a meat shield, we've seen how low scoring a lot of games can be. And I don't want to give up 25 points to keep somebody else alive and then lose on those 25 points because, you only get 4 rounds of play. Mm. So,
at the risk of giving away the end, why is this the only piece in this entire Fast Forces that ignores hindering when moving? Like, shouldn't Spider-Man...
That was a weird thing. Like, if Spider-Man can hop over a building, why can't he hop over a bush?
Yeah. Well, it's made even more weird by the 2 clicks of leap climb that she happens to have. What's even the point of that?
She breaks away better.
Yeah, that's it. I guess that you just wanted
outdoor blocking and characters.
Yeah, clearly that's what that is. Nothing.
It's funny because Jay is currently in our chat and not on our show anymore, so he wants to talk about the wild carding of Defenders.
Well, it's funny because in a way it's too bad he's not here because he does love Defenders and he'll take any Defender he can get. It's too bad this is one of the best ones that he's got.
But in a world where Spider-Man family is everything, you can get a huge defense, share that defense, move it around, whatever.
True. That might be worth 25 points. I mean, there's possible that you've got a really high defense wild card.
But then there is that edge case. I think we talked about this last week. We need to remind people when there's a single reason for this character to exist. That's not a good character. That's a character who exists and will find its way onto a team, right? Grand scale, it's not necessarily great, right? You know what? It's weird because we made that clear last week, and I don't know if everybody watched last week at the beginning where we said, "Hey, a figure might find its way onto a meta team and be good," but it's we kind of try to base it on a wider array. It's kind of why we were a little higher on the Spider-Man, low on the Venom, kind of iffy on this one, more or less leaning on to no. Whereas like there is a team, sure, if you want a wild card to the Defender, but that doesn't really widen the stance on it, right? Anyway, it's Fast Forces. Let's go. Next up is Carnage. Carnage comes in. We're back to the 75-50 versions. You lose the first 2 clicks for the 50 version, or 50-point version, rather. Codex, Frightful 4, Maximum Carnage Monster keywords. Ignores Elevated again for movement. Has plasticity and shape change because it's a symbiote. And that's the Maximum Carnage trait, which says once per turn, when Carnage hits, after resolutions, deal 1 penetrating damage to up to 2 opposing characters that weren't hit, but are adjacent to a hit character. Mike, what do you think of Carnage?
Right away out of the gate, it's another one that I wouldn't really play at 75. I go right to the 50-point dial. I kind of prefer him starting with Battle Fury over Exploit Weakness. I just think there's so many ways in this game where defensive powers sort of get worked around and shape change becomes a problem. So Battle Fury is a really nice, simple way to ignore that. Plus, he's got an 11 attack at the 50 and the 75 points. So, with blades, you kind of not so upset about only having a 2 damage to start versus 3 damage because you're just going to roll blades on your charge anyway, really. Plasticity, shape change, great to have traded again on a 50 point. And that maximum carnage trait is pretty huge. I just look at this figure as a nice, cheap 50 point solid attacker with that 11 attack and the Battle Fury to get around shape change. Now add on that he could do maybe 6 damage to his main target and do this additional damage to non-hit targets. There's so much value there. So yeah, that's a pretty good. It's a pretty solid figure, really. Fill-in figure.
Tom?
Yeah, I agree with everything Mike said. I have nothing to add on the figures, so the only thing I'll add is that for some reason we didn't actually get any like non-absolute version of Carnage in the whole set. So if nothing else, if you're a fan, which I am of Carnage, this is almost worth a Fast Forces buy just so you have a playable Carnage. So it's nice that he is playable as Mike outlined.
Mm. Yeah. I don't want to add anything. It's fine. you guys nailed it. I was stumped. All right. Sorry, I'm clicking through all the things. I got to realize I'm the one that's... All right. Mysterio is next. 5 range, Sinister Syndicate team ability. Playable at 75 or 50 points. The mastermind and probability control is the line there for those watching on TV or on their screens. Magia, scientist, Sinister Syndicate keywords, ignores hindering for movement. He's got a trait robot minions at the beginning of the game, generate a robot minion bystander. Power action, generate a robot minion bystander, maximum 2. Passenger 2, but only to carry robot minion bystanders. His special movement power, which he has on the first 3 clicks at 75 or the first click at 50, and then his last click of life. Setting the stage, mind control, sidestep, and stealth. And just to quickly go over, the robot minion is autonomous, has Force Blast, Quake, toughness, and shape change, and has this Veil of Lies trait. If robot minion occupies one of Mysterio's smoke cloud markers or smoke markers, modify attack and damage +1. Tom. Mysterio.
He's not for me. Here again, we have somebody given the Magia keyword who kind of sucks. Just mocking Fancy Dan all the way to the bank. Or is that Enforcers? That's Enforcers.
That's Enforcers.
Yeah. Okay.
He has Magia, but he affects Enforcers.
Right. I guess Magia takes you closer to theming with Vulture. Anyway, I don't want to say nothing. But I'm fighting against the if you've got nothing nice to say, then don't say anything, because none of this is explicitly bad. I like mind control; it's a nice little change. There hasn't been a lot of that in this set, he's stealthy. He generates bystanders, who I always like. And the bystanders are fine; they're not wonderful. They've got to be occupying his smoke in order to really be worth it, which means that he's spending his actions putting down smoke cloud, which is rarely a sign that the game is going well. And he's either playable at lower points where he's more well defended on his own, but he's really hoping for a Sinister Syndicate member because that 9 attack is never hitting mind control or otherwise. Or you play him at a higher point where he's completely unjustifiable at 75 points just because he's got prob. So I just don't like him, and I almost never like a Mysterio. Like, somebody needs to win Worlds when there's Worlds again and make a good Mysterio. I would be so happy, because it seems that this is one of the more elusive things. I can't remember ever liking Mysterio, with all due respect to the Mysterio.
Did we not like the main set one? I thought we liked the main set one.
I didn't love him. Like,
Oh,
he's
you know what? I
okay,
think it was
but-
because Daniel Burkhart made him good. That's why. Anything you want to add, Mike?
No, not in regards to this figure, but I did like there was I'm pretty sure there was the prize Mysterio, one of the
Right.
OP
Oh,
Mysterios,
yeah.
who made those good illusion bystanders. There was one good Mysterio.
I
He was
I
all right.
recall.
I believe it was
Actually,
Go ahead.
yeah,
take it from
I collected multiple of him. You could play multiple of that particular one, and he made bystanders, something like that.
There's
But I agree, this one's a hot mess.
yeah. There was also that one in Amazing Spider-Man that had like the make one, and then every other one is 10 points, but is like the lower click dial that kind of operated like the multiple man did. That one was pretty okay.
Yeah, that one was not bad.
That felt
But this
Mysterio-y
one-
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Like, he's another. He feels like another one they could do, like the arcade thing, where like if he wins map, he gains various benefits because he's basically defined the battlefield. Or whatever.
You're in my studio now. That kind
Well,
of thing.
it's just he's doing things, and he's doing stuff like you'd think Mysterio would do. It's just you just don't care. Like this would be fun to play in a fun themed team where you're playing Spider-Man versus the Sinister Syndicate, and this Mysterio is doing things like you would expect Mysterio to do, which is make some bystanders and have them get hit. And he makes smoke and hopes Spider-Man doesn't punch him through the smoke. But like that's it. Like he's just not doing anything. It's 75 points to get prov. It's like, no, thank you. A little bitter.
All right. Last up is Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider. 75 or 50. Knock off the first two at 50. Celebrity, Codex, Monster, Spider-Man Family keyword, has Spider-Man Family team ability, and a 5 range. Ignores elevated for movement. But this one has the symbiote, and has plasticity and shape change. I guess I get to start on this one, eh?
Go for it.
There's a lot of evasion on those first clicks, because she's traded with the shape change, she's got the super senses. But I think we said that about a lot of figures in the Spider-Man set. I don't think this Ghost Spider is one of the ones that I'm really kind of looking at for that. But, you know, I don't want to completely crap on everything. And it's a good figure, like I've said. Just, you know, not great. It falls. I think this falls under the Venom, the whole Venom system. Super strength is great with, you know, the attack values she has. She'll be able to knock back, do extra damage, that sort of situation. And like I said, she's super evasive. It's just a shame she doesn't ignore hindering for one. And getting beyond that, last click regen is always its own thing, where it's like, I'm only regenning this turn. She's indomitable, so you're pushing to do it at times. So solid, okay, but I don't see a whole lot of teams I'm personally adding her to myself. Tom, what do you think?
Agreed. I don't know that I can add much. I think it's well put.
Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, she's just, you know, there's too much out there that I could spend 75 points on that would bring way more to my team.
So ultimately, this falls into the fast forces of old, where there's always that one thing that almost makes you consider it. Maybe two if you're looking to build that kind of Defenders build with the Black Cat. I think we're a little bit more higher on the Spider-Man, but the amount of keyword cheating that's out there right now is kind of ridiculous as it is. So everything Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know if he's that worth it.
Yeah.
But again, like I'm excited to get my hands on a Carnage that's actually Carnage and not the absolute version. So I mean, if this is designed for new players, casual players, or people that are kind of coming in with a connection to the source material, then, you know, mission accomplished to some extent.
I would go so far as to say that there's actually two of the 6 figures that could be on competitive teams. I think that the 50-point Spider-Man totally could, because he's not horrible, and again, he brings that really a 50-50 chance leadership to pretty much any team. So if you've got a team that you're really like, man, leadership really would take this to the next level, or successful leadership, or you got some gimmick that works around leadership, you know, you can't deny that having a 50-point guy, you can come onto your team for that who can actually do something in a pinch. Like he's not just standing there waiting to get punched. And that 50-point Carnage. I mean, he's got monster keyword. He's got good enough values that he could fit in on a team, with a bunch of Wendigos to help them get a wounded token on somebody. So it's not a bad fast forces that way. There's some casual figures in here, and there's potential for meta figures in here. Maybe not meta figures themselves, but as in figures who could help a competitive team.
Yeah, Maximum Carnage is a great way to get Wendigos on their way.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh. Motor in! Flying Wendigos.
Well, especially too because it all revolves around hitting and not damaging, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Carnage could just go after somebody he can't even damage, but he knows he can hits that target, does the damage to the adjacent targets. Now there's the wounded tokens you need. So, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. All right. With that said, I don't think we have anything else to cover this week. It's going to be a quick one, which is fine. We're old.
Damn straight.
All right. With that, we're going to move to questions. So if you're watching us live in the chat, put capital letters question in front of your question so we can catch it there. We have a couple other social media places where we catch our questions, so we're going to catch those first and then get everybody else's in the chat there. Jay is just becoming the new guy who does this now. Jay Solomon wants to know, when is someone going to challenge Devin for the 2020 Canadian Nationals tie? I'm paraphrasing here. For the 2020 title. Doesn't need to be official, but maybe we just let him have this. I kind of go on the whole... Remember when the Blue Jays won the World Series twice in a row, and then the next year there was a strike that completely killed the years, so we were actually 3 years World Series champ? Let's go with that. Devin is two-time Canadian National champ. We good with that?
I'm down with it. I don't want to try to face him.
No.
Embarrassing.
He's scary and smart. He doesn't speak in questions. He speaks in absolutes. He's a Sith. Michael Fedor, does the Earth X figure number 51 Venom have the potential to be swapped in with any of the other Venom symbiote team builds in this brand new set? Presume that this is just for a fun game and not necessarily a highly competitive game. I have to go back and look at that. Oh wait, 51 Venom was the one that comes with the symbiote, right?
Yeah. Sorry, what's the question?
Does the Venom have the potential to be swapped in for any other Venom symbiote team builds in this brand new set?
I mean, if it's casual, then the answer is definitely yes. He's actually not bad. Is the SR Venom? I liked him because he's got the symbiote that actually gives the auto breakaway in addition to the plasticity and the shape change. He's a double rollout figure, and those are always useful, and his values are fine.
Mike?
Sure.
It's all yours. All right. Next, we move to the Facebook community group, which I didn't have open ahead of time, so this is going to take me a second to do, and I should have done while we were answering that question. Wouldn't that have been a smart thing to do?
Multitasking. Oh,
it is overrated.
Even doing one task is overrated sometimes. I prefer
doing
non-tasking.
Things? Yeah. I feel like I'm doing too much lately. All right, here we go. Community group. There. I know we had some questions. That's why I'm kind of trying to find my way into this.
Sure.
You can join us in the community group on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/marriedwithclicks community group. It's all one word on that one. So, Tom would know, but he's not on Facebook. Yeah, Austin Ryder. Who do you think is the best modern legal piece with the Maximum Carnage keyword? I'm Mike. What do you think? Do you have one off the top of your noggin, or?
Well, I mean, that Absolute Carnage himself is pretty good. You can play him at 60 points with the Perplex. He boosts up other characters with Maximum Carnage by giving them +1 to their attack. So that doesn't hurt. I'll throw him out there as again, because it's just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know all the figures that have maximum carnage. I want to feel like that Spider Carnage did a lot of nasty stuff too.
He does have maximum carnage for sure.
Oh yeah, the 40 point ability to make 3 attacks with sides. Yeah.
At 40 points, yeah, it's pretty good. So I'll say Absolute Carnage and Spider Carnage, really.
All right, Tom.
Is the question just what's the best one?
Who do you think is the best modern legal piece with the maximum carnage keyword? That's the question.
I have to go with Null. I'm still not quite convinced that Null at full points is a play. But, like, boy, if you're not ready to face that kind of extreme rollout, outwit-proof, deep dial stuff, then, at 125 points, I think that he's a very capable tentpole, so I think he would get my vote. Even though my heart says Spider Carnage.
Mm-hmm. Prime Venom gets mine. I like the full movement charge, do damage regardless of actually hitting anything. I'm a big fan of it. I think there's a lot of potential to it, so that's going to be my vote on that one. So we actually had all different answers. I like that. I like when that happens.
Yeah.
Larry Richard Hall Jr., where can a brother get some maps?
At the map store.
Actually, the
Make friends with a cartographer.
The Master of Evil starter set has like 4 of them, 2 double-sided maps, right?
Yeah, really good ones too.
Yeah.
I would search out the starter or other things that have the 4s, because that's one. Mm-hmm. Fantastic Four is another. Justice League is another.
Justice League Unlimited had
Earth
4,
X
yeah.
is one.
Did Earth X have 4?
Yeah, Earth X had 4.
Okay.
Yeah, wait.
No, it had 1 because there was a prize map for that one.
Yes. What am I thinking of? Animated series is what I'm thinking of. Batman animated.
Batman animated.
Yeah, all those are good candidates because they're double map starters and packages.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a good question. Normally, you get them from like in store at tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Which is not really a thing anymore.
Well, yeah, they flat out like didn't send anything for Absolute Carnage. They sent an event map for the Mole Man, but it depends on whether or not your local game store is running events or giving them out at all. So, yeah. George Himes, which character are you most excited to make Galactus's Herald? Tom, I know you've been thinking about this because you've been hyped about Galactus because you're a big Galactus fan. I need to think about this, so I'm passing it on to you.
Sure. I mean, my heart says Witch Queen LeFay. But the problem with the Herald thing, you have to keep in mind, is that you can't be equipped if you're the Herald. And I think Witch Queen practically almost requires Nightbringer. Maybe it's just because I've played her with Nightbringer so much. It was Mike's idea originally, so full credit to the guy who had the idea in the first place. But I've gotten so attached to it that I think my real answer at this point is probably Earth X Daredevil. Because I think he's got the survivability to keep the Galactus things in play for a while. He will generally benefit from the powers. A bit of wit protection won't hurt him at all. A bit of range won't hurt him at all. So I think he generally gets the most general benefit coupled with the survivability to see it through. And although, Venom Harness is awesome on him, it's not essential. I'm fine to not go with Venom Harness and to get the Galactus effect on that.
All right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same way Tom is in that my first reaction was always Witch Queen, even though I'm loath to play her because I've had such not good luck in terms of that rolling and missing and losing her power. But it just feels like I even more have to try her again because of Galactus. So maybe in a way I'm excited because it makes me want to take a chance and play her again. I don't know who. I feel like there's somebody else. I feel like there was somebody else who came along in one of the recent sets where, oh, you know what? Chase Thor from Captain America set? Yeah, Captain America set. That's who it was. I just kind of always felt like he was somebody I would put Nightbringer on. Much the reason to put it on Witch Queen is it's like a low end protected against that wit thing because you can't draw a line of fire. But with Black Widow existing in the world, I wanted to make Thor a little beefier, and it's kind of worth it for 25 points to have a Herald dial and make him 150 point Thor. Especially because he comes with his own prob already, so he really likes the idea of now being unoutwittable. So and getting some pulse wave on him would be pretty hardcore as well. So Witch Queen and Thor would be my top choices.
Dr. Doom. Probably uncommon.
No one is surprised.
I was thinking you were going to say Undertaker, because I think Undertaker would be awesome with it, too.
The Undertaker would be an interesting call, but I have to kind of revisit the... You get range on that, don't you?
You get range. That's what makes it so great on WWE figures.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea, actually. The Undertaker's a good call. I want to see what the next wave of WWE is on that one, though. It might end up being the Fiend or the Demon Balor.
I would also then want to put it on the SR Spider-Man, then.
Good call.
Like that. I didn't realize. I forgot about the range. So yeah, gives him range.
But it wouldn't work with his hypersonic.
No, I know it doesn't. Yeah. I know it doesn't work with the power of it, but he's got hypersonic with the 12 range, or sorry, 12 attack, and now he'd have some range.
Yeah.
So that would be nice.
Yeah.
There are some good calls. The reason I said Undertaker over any other WWE was that he starts with sidestep, so it's one of the few. Like where he's not charging anyway, so I kind of like the fact he's got the sidestep and the 5 range.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, having a choice that Spider-Man family seems appropriate because
well, isn't everybody?
That's really what I mean.
Yeah,
everybody's Spider-Man family,
right?
Witch Queen, the Spider-Man family.
Witch Queen, the Spider-Man family.
Might as well just put Galactus on 1776. If he's going to be on every team you play anyway, then you might as well just attach a Galactus there.
Crazy.
All right. Doesn't look like much is going on in our patron Discord. Nope. Okay. So we move to the chat. Do I ignore Jay or do I give him the time of day? First up, though, we have Neo Shazam. Do you believe giving a Sue Storm sideboard effect for everyone to switch their non-theme team for a non-theme team, or a theme team for a same theme team would be good for the game? I read those words as they were. Give me a second.
I assume that you're just saying give everybody the ability to swap in teams. If that's the case, then no. How could that possibly be good for the game?
Yeah.
It would completely eradicate the purpose of team building ahead of time, and everybody would just rejig the team.
Yeah, I see.
I love that all the time.
Tom's all game for it, but there is an element of it that makes it unwantable. I can understand where Mike's coming from, that's for sure. Where every game, it's like, why start with the build sheet? And it becomes a roll-off of like, you build your team and then I'm going to build your team.
You have a limit on your sideline. I love that stuff.
But every team, though, I'm just saying, if every team I sat down against, I've now got to wait for that person to rejig their team, and then me as the second player, I'm going to now rejig my team. Come on.
I think we'd find something outside of it that would just be obnoxious enough to not have to worry about it. Whereas, like, doesn't matter what I switch my team to, here's just the unstoppable force.
Unimind Part 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the ups and downs. If everybody's friggin' doing it, it's not going to be great. And it's really not going to be unique to how the Fantastic Four kind of uses it, right? It loses flavor, and we go back to day one of the game before we had cards, and then you look at a character and say, that's going to be a hypersonic guy, that's going to be a charge guy, that's going to be a running shot guy, and then we're all bored again. So,
kind of miss those days.
You don't. You might miss saying my 7 attack against your 13 defense. You might miss that. But you definitely won't miss everybody is the same. Doesn't matter, really. Everybody was weak to outwit with its 10 range. Remember that?
I was okay. Yeah.
All right.
Rookie Black Panther for the win. Forever.
Next up, Neo Shazam also wants to know. This is the second one. Dice replacement happens after probability control and right before the roll is finalized. That's correct. That is correct.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And Jay, okay, I'll give him the time on this one. I think I already answered it sufficiently, in my opinion. Has it been so long since Defenders was printed in reasonable amounts that we forgot what it did? No.
No.
Well, it's funny. My answer would have been no, except I should probably double check.
Well,
I'm pretty sure it's still.
It's defend. It's defend. Basically, give your printed defense to somebody with the Defender's team ability. If you have the Defender's team ability,
Yeah.
So,
I'm
he's
reasonably certain
being sarcastic because it's Jay, or at least he thinks he's being sarcastic, where he's coming off more condescending. Love you, Jay.
Well, what's funny about it though is the way that the game changes so much, and like powers change so often. Like it's a sarcastic comment that could be kind of true. I'm like, wait, but what if it actually is a little different?
Mm-hmm.
You're making me check now too, by the way. But I'm pretty sure it's still just jokes on us. It's actually worse now, and it lowers what's her name stock. Goodness.
Oh, excuse me.
The Defenders, when this character is attacked, you may replace his defense value with the printed defense value of an adjacent friendly character that can use this team ability. I mean,
No more chains.
is there anybody with the Spider-Man team ability that's got a pack on a 19 defense naturally right now? I think that's probably
Spider-Man 2099 has a starting 19. I assume he's a spider. He's a.
Well, now I have to justify using him.
He has a starting 19? I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, he's the SR. I'm just looking him up. Yeah, he is. He is a wild card.
Here.
Okay.
He's not a great figure, but he does have a starting 19 with a wild card.
Therein lies, for him, for me, that was like one of the. Like, the second you said Spider-Man 2099, I was like, okay, yeah, sure.
I don't know why that stood out. I think
damage value is never going to be 19. Defense value. I'm doing the whole like advanced search on HC ROMs right now, but I accidentally put 19 into the damage value. So currently, with the Spider-Man team ability and a 19 defense, we have Spider-Man 2099, as you said, and Morbius has 19 defense if you steal energy at least twice.
Yeah, all right. It could happen. Not bloody likely. But
So then I'll double check other wild cards like the generic team player and whatever. But for the most part, I think because here's the thing: instinctively, you're like, oh, I'm going to share my 18 defense. Does an 18 defense matter anymore?
No, it doesn't. It sure doesn't feel like it.
Like we used to say the 18 defense was high. We kind of don't anymore, do we?
It's not low.
No.
Yeah, a bit high praise indeed.
It's low. It's low if you're playing Devin.
Devin's not going to roll to hit you. Come on.
He's just 14s. He's got like 14 attacks. He's just like, yeah. I just need 4s.
Team player.
You know what's a real missed opportunity is that Spider Queen isn't a wild card.
Oh, Amazo's got it, and so does Quicksilver. There's options, I guess.
Yeah, but you're talking about the 290 point Amazo, right?
Yes, I am. I didn't. I missed.
Yeah.
I missed the figure number.
He's got a 20. That would be broken, but for the fact that he's your whole team already.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and therein lies the other beef. It's like, okay, well, we can share the defense with the defender, but our options get more and more limited when you're trying to wild card use it. So, it's.
I know.
So-
Why couldn't the Spider-Man chases have actually given the Spider-Man team ability too? Come on, get some value out of it.
Right? Why half-ass it here, guys? Come on.
Jeez. So unfair. It's like they don't even care about game balance.
God!
Jesus.
All right. Chase Fields, what are some good maps to use with Batman Prime? Is there a white green? I haven't personally
Metal
played
Arena.
with or against Battle Arena. Metal Arena.
Oh, Arena.
Yeah, I guess.
And what's the one that you really like, Tom? What's that super wide open one?
WWE Arena.
That's a WWE Arena.
Yeah.
WWE Arena is good as long as you acknowledge the fact that your opponent will almost always put you in the obscuring end because then they've got room to put their barriers down.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're limited at where you can put Batman Prime. There are spots in the starting area where he can stand in the WWE Arena, but there's only a couple of them if your opponent puts you on the one side. So just be ready to build around that particular configuration. It's not a big deal, but it's something you got to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends on what you're up against because I would always pack a map like Hedge Maze. Because if your opponent just has a ton of colossal figures, then Batman Prime can get the early attack off, rip through their colossals, and then let the rest of their team kind of toddle on over and try to do something against you. Depends on what your configuration is.
Yeah, and what they might have their way through the map, but for the most part, I kind of agree with you on that one.
Also, Ultron's Lair. Which is another one from the new set. There is a little bit of lower elevation there, so you got to be a little careful, but it's pretty open.
Mm-hmm. And if there's a white grid,
that's kind of what WWE Arena looks like in the viewer, because the earring comes out as just like a slight tint.
Yeah, I hate looking at obscuring terrain on or looking at obscuring terrain on Roll20. Or at least with the map tools that we have available to us, or what's available as far as maps that are compatible with it. It just doesn't look like obscuring terrain. It looks like it's slightly off gray. And I guess either my monitor contrast is off or something, but it's not great to look at.
If the question is also about worlds because ownership is not required, or any other thing, if you've got access to it, there's a rock map called the Campsite, which I would push people towards because it's almost all hindering with a big swath of water. It's kind of hard to get across, and it limits where your opponent can put their barriers down, but it is otherwise very open. So it's a different kind of good open because it's cracking down a bit on barrier placement, and if you don't ignore hindering for movement, there's just no way to get across that water. So. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to disappear quickly but I'm going to ask this one of you guys and open it up there. Is multiple Venom Groots and Valeria Von Doom with spin and influence rings the best team right now?
You want to take this, Mike?
No. I mean, I'm hard-pressed to ever call anything the best team because does it beat everything? No, not necessarily. Is it nasty? Does it do nasty things? Sure, absolutely. Especially anytime you can deal out damage with minimal dice rolling or no dice rolling. Sure. And I've built some teams utilizing multiple Venom Groots to sort of see what would be what. So, is it very good? Yes. Does it do nasty things? Yes. Is it the best team out there? No.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And the other thing about it is that, like, one of the most popular plays right now is Vulture. And any time that you're doing that thing where you're stacking a whole bunch of low point characters together, then you're opening up the possibility of Vulture just ripping through your team. Like, the shape changes might help depending upon the equip, but if the Vulture player has decided to give themselves a Necro or whatever it's called, the all black the Necro sword, yeah, instead of the arms, or as an alternative to the arms, it's not that hard to get 5 damage on Vulture with the Necro sword. Then the shape change doesn't matter, and he just cuts Venom Groots down like it's a joke, because even though the KO effect is not normal for Groot, it still is an KO'd effect, not a would-be KO'd effect, so Vulture will be able to keep going. So, and that's what controls it.
Well, also on top of that, Emily's done it with the Cadmus scientist, where it takes
True,
the power
yeah.
action
Battle
and
Fury.
gives Battle Fury. So shape change as a deterrent is really not so great against Vulture. There's plenty of ways for Vulture to get around.
Yeah. It would be the best if you could reliably, like, turn 1, get across the entire map and start being ready to knock people around on turn 2, despite barriers, people in the way, and yada yada yada. But I still think Vulture's popular enough that it will keep that particular team under control. Super good. Expect to see a lot of it, but maybe not all of it.
Yeah, maybe not the best per se. I mean, that it's always a hard, like Mike said, it's always a hard definition to what is the best team. Something's always out there ready to beat it. So it's definitely
hard with all the double.
Was that?
I was going to say it's hard with all the double 1776s to get a double equip on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your team is relying on 2 equips, that's hard these days.
Yeah, it ain't easy. I mean, I guess the way around it to a certain degree is like risking it with some autonomous characters, maybe, but that's rough. That's a massive
it's
risk.
more Vulture bait.
Yeah. So, all right. Everything is screwing up right now on my computer, so give me a second here. OBS, our streaming tool might just crash on us. So, what I'm going to do? Oh, there we go. That's better.
So close to the end.
I know we're basically there. We have one last question here from Creative License.
Okay.
Do you have a suggestion for a meta level Fantastic Four theme team? I think Tom's team was really good. The one you played at Team Worlds was, and I mean, like, Isaac had a version of it too. So obviously, if you and Isaac came to the same conclusion,
yeah. What can I say? I'm not going to go super specific because the whole point is that you basically swap a lot of things out. What I will say is I think 5 figures is probably the right number, or possibly 6, but when you look at your swap options, you find the average point cost of the really viable swapping options comes in a little over 50 points apiece. I think I figured it out to be like 52.5, in my opinion, is roughly what I think the average point cost of a good replacement is. So considering you can only replace 4 things, 4 times 52.5 is a little over 200. It's not going to be so. If you build a 4-person Fantastic Four, I think you're trending too high on points to open up a good number of replacements. So I think go for 5 or 6 even. I would say I liked Reed Richards personally a lot as Fixture of Universes, as my always on the map. You can't replace him because he's a title character anyway. But SR Thing is another one that is just always useful. So by all means, you can keep him. Like, you can also just build he and Valeria and a spin ring. That's 85 points. Have them there the whole time, and then put 215 points into swapping figures, and just come up with the best combinations you can think of. And I think you'll get a lot of mileage off of that. In fact, I think that might be more or less what Isaac did do. I can't precisely remember whether he had 5 or 6 figures.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now. When I played against him, I totally lost complete track, but I was playing against Thing, Black Leopard, Invisible Woman, Franklin,
He had 5.
And yeah. So
yeah, I'm remembering that now because he had both Franklins and stuff, and I was just doing the math on my calculator. But yeah, it was 5. Anyway, go with 5 or 6 characters and expect to swap out a lot of them. I don't think there is a best configuration because there's so many different things to suit your particular flavor.
All right, we're good. We're good. All right, Mike, Tom, thank you guys very much for coming on this adventure today. Next week we have a little bit more of a creative episode ahead. I want to thank our sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insiders. $3 a month gets you access to some of the great brains in the game of Heroclix. And they're your one-stop source for all things Heroclix. They're a great place to keep on top of what's going on in the game. And they usually tend to be on top of what's going on as far as competitive play is at the moment. That said, you guys have yourselves a wonderful evening. Get some teams out there on Roll20. Think about your ideas because, like Tom suggested, Worlds is just out there around the corner. And if you want to get in those qualifying rounds, you got to get a team that you have that you know in and out, and that's earned through practice because practice will make your team better. Have a good night, everybody.